and welcome to another episode of the Family Gamers Podcast. This is episode 417.
Hello, everybody. We are super excited once again to do another one of these shows. We're recording a little bit early because Anitra's going on a fancy trip.
Not fancy, but I'm going to be out of town.
You're going on a fun trip. The trip's going to be fun. You get to ride on a train. Like, I'm honestly kind of jealous.
I'm riding on a train.
Yeah, so who's riding on a train? It is the Family Gamers. I am your host, Andrew, and I am joined for now by my lovely and wonderful wife, Anitra.
I'll be back.
You will be back, and I will be looking forward to it. Absence makes the heart grow fonder, after all.
Yes.
Anyway, this is episode 417 of the Family Gamers Podcast. Anitra, what are we talking about today?
We're going to talk about The Purge.
I mean, it sounds kind of like a weird body horror movie, but that's not what we're going to talk about.
But that's not it. Suggested by a listener recently, how do you know when you're done with the game? Like, especially those kids games. Like, your kids age out of it. Is it time to move on? Question mark?
Yeah, and this actually dovetails pretty well with what we talked about last week, which was all about growing with your kids, and especially what it looks like for us. And, you know, when we started this, we had a, 1-year-old, and now we have a 12-year-old, and obviously we're not playing the same games with him, and blah, blah, blah,
yeah,
blah,
definitely
blah.
not.
So the palette changes over time, and that is A-okay. So how do we talk about this? How do we make these decisions? We're going to talk about one regret that we have that we talked about on the show before as well.
But first, you have a fact about 417.
I do have a fact. Are you ready?
Sure.
In the world of sound healing, the ancient Solfeggio frequencies are timeless pillars of holistic well-being with connections to centuries of spiritual practice. These frequencies cross the boundaries of religion and culture as they have roots in both Western Christianity and Eastern religions. They are said to resonate with profound energetic qualities, offering pathways to inner balance and emotional restoration. Amidst this tapestry of sound is the 417 Hz frequency, renowned for its ability to facilitate change and renewal. One of the 6 original Solfeggio frequencies, 417 Hz embodies the capacity to clean negative energy and fill that space with positivity. As such, it may be particularly useful for restoring emotional wellness, paving a brighter path forward. You know, if you believe in that kind of stuff. But
sure,
that was it. So there's 6 of these original frequencies. I think we'll include the list in the show notes, maybe if I can find them all. 417 is supposed to be one of them. It's supposed to be this wonderful healing tone. You can go to YouTube and find like 1.5 hour long recordings of the 417 Hz frequency, and you can just listen to them and see if you feel more healed or something. We tried. Do you feel more healed, Anitra?
I do not.
Okay. You can give it a shot yourself.
I will give a little side note to that. If you're a musician and you're like the Solfeggio frequencies, they don't really have any relationship to the Solfeggio music learning system, but they were named after that system.
Sure, why not?
Yeah.
Because it's a familiar name. Anyway, I hope you feel more healed after that little kind of background tidbit that I gave you. And if not, you can try, full blast on YouTube. Otherwise, you can just listen to a sponsor message from Anitra.
How do you teach your kids about finances? It's always good to have open, honest discussions with your kids, especially if there are lessons you want them to learn. But in addition to that, your kids need the opportunity to practice your lessons while it's still safe to fail. Board games are a great source of learning, especially engine builders or games with some kind of economy. But more so if you talk through why some choices worked out better when you're done playing. Something like, hey, did you notice how I was behind until we counted up endgame bonuses? A lot of times you have to choose between a few points now or a lot of points later. This applies directly to so many things in life. It's also a good idea to give your kids small decisions they're in charge of that are age appropriate. Giving a preteen control over school shopping within a certain budget may not go as smoothly as it would if you made all the choices for them, but it will give them practice staying on budget. If you want to talk about more ways to teach your children to manage their personal finances, set up a time to talk by going to firstmovefinancial.com/familygamers.
Thanks so much to the team at First Move Financial for sponsoring another episode of the show. So, Anitra, first half of the show, what else do we talk about?
We talk about what we've been playing.
We have been playing some games. You have been playing more games than me as usual, but we have all been playing some games, so let's talk about that.
Yeah, so we had some friends over for a game night, and rather than play one big game, we played a lot of smaller card games. We started with some Flip 7, which, as Flip 7 tends to, had a lot of highs and lows. We played some Kabanga, which was a big hit and made us really glad that we picked up some $5 copies from Amigo back at PAX Unplugged.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we gave another copy away.
We played some Circus Fliccati, which had a mixed reception.
Agree.
And then we played Trio, and everybody liked Trio so much that we played it 3 more times.
Almost like it's a trio of trios.
Yeah. So I would say that game night went really well, and all 4 of those card games are games I really enjoy playing and I enjoy showing to people.
Yeah, they're all short. They are all supporting, 5 or 6 players, which is the larger end of what a common game group kind of looks like.
Yeah.
And again, because of the shortness of it and because there's not huge stakes on the line, right? Even if a game isn't a slam hit.
You just move on to something else.
Yep. All right, next on the list is floristry, but not the floristry you're used to. This is spiked floristry.
Cat expansion.
I don't
or
even know
like
what it is.
Cat variation.
So this is actually, I love, by the way that this was done. And when we talk about app-assisted games, a lot of people don't like the whole concept of app-assisted games because they're saying like, well, what if the app stops working and then you've got this cardboard and you can't do anything with it? Da, 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 da. Well, with floristry, this is a Dutch auction game, and there's an app that facilitates the Dutch auction of it all.
Mm-hmm.
So that means that they can update the game because it's got this primary core mechanic without anybody having to buy anything. So you call it an expansion, but like really all it was just an update of the app, which is really just a wrapper around a website anyway.
Yeah. So this expansion, variation, whatever you want to call
it. This addition to the game.
Yeah. It changed up how the timer worked and it gave both parties a little bit more starting money. So in the end, the mechanics of the game were exactly the same, but the timer was less predictable and started at a higher threshold, which definitely made the bidding a little bit more interesting because it was more unpredictable.
Yeah. I think because you and I know each other so well, it was less of an adjustment for us than it might have been for people who didn't know each other quite as well.
But it was still really good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I almost think I would just play it that way all the time.
Probably.
Mm-hmm.
It was really nice to not know exactly when the value was going to change on the timer. In the standard version of floristry, it is every 3 seconds the value goes down by 1.
Mm-hmm.
And this was, there's going to be 30 seconds and it's going to go from 7 to 0 in that time. And it was never changing super quick like 7, 6, 5.
Mm-hmm.
But it was unpredictable enough that you had to really pay attention and make your move.
Sure. So that was floristry. I still won.
You did still win.
Only by 1 point, though. You thought I was going to crush you, and I just barely beat you.
You just barely beat me instead. I finally made good on my promise to our 15-year-old, and he taught me how to play Slay the Spire, the board game.
So what'd you think?
I actually really enjoyed it.
It's really good. There's a lot, but it's good.
We got to Act 3, but we played each act on a separate day. So we played Act 1, we beat Act 1. Great, let's pack up the game and put it away. And then a couple of days later, we played Act 2. Act 2, we actually had to split into 2 parts because of some other things and leave set up on the table for a little bit. But then we beat Act 2. Act 3, we got into, and the boss absolutely smushed us.
Okay.
But it was really fun, and it was neat to see how the deck building really can build up over time. There's 4 different characters.
Mm-hmm.
And you've got that almost legacy, more campaign, I guess, kind of feel to it, that the choices you made early on in Act 1 are very much still affecting what you do in Act 3.
Okay.
And I do think that unless you are a really heavy game aficionado, this is probably the way to do it, splitting up acts into separate plays of the game. Because then each act is in the 60 to 90 minute range, rather than doing like, well, we're going to set aside 4 hours to play this game.
Sure.
Especially because, as the kid told me later, I'm apparently the only one who's played it with him and gotten past Act 1. Other people he's played it with, they've gotten smushed before the end of Act 1.
Well, I played it with him the second time he ever played the game.
Yeah. And then our friend who came over for the game night, the rest of us adults were talking, and they played Act 1, but did not make it very far.
Oh, I didn't even realize they played through a game.
I thought
they
he told
just
me later.
Looked at a couple of rounds or something like that.
Yeah.
Huh, that's interesting.
It was fun, and I would definitely be willing to do it again. Cool. It still feels kind of like it's a big event. Like, it's a big lift. There's a lot of setup. There's a lot of teardown, but it was fun, and I would play again.
So what you're saying is when I build the gaming table, and we can put the table over the game?
And just leave it set up for a week? Yes.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Yes.
All right. But that's a different conversation for a different day. Anyway,
yes.
What's next on the list?
I also pulled the kids together during February vacation. I pulled out a couple of games that all of them used to love and we have not played in a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked at them like, look, I know this is not a high priority for you guys, but can we pick one of these to play together as a family?
Sure.
And the kids picked Draftosaurus.
I love it.
It was fun. We had a good time. There was some reviewing of the rules because I think the last time any of us played this was like 3 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And also a reminder that rather than trying to hold little dinosaur meeples in your hand and then pass them, it's way easier to use a silicone muffin liner and put your dinosaurs in that and then just pass the little cup.
Yeah,
to
I
the
noticed
next
you
person.
left the little cups
And
in
then
the
I
box.
put them in the box because I don't want to forget that trick again.
I see. Okay, sure. Yeah, why not? Draftosaurus, great game. Honestly, the expansions, I mean, it's one. Is it? No, I guess they were separate expansions. They're fine.
They're fine.
I don't find them particularly great.
If you're playing a lot of Draftosaurus, those expansions would be worth it. Probably usually one or the other, not both at the same time. But if you're only playing it occasionally, you don't need them.
I agree. I totally agree. Great game, though.
Great game. One more for me, which is I have been playing a bunch of the Button Shy solo game called Embers. I think I may have mentioned this either last show or the one before.
Okay.
But this is a sort of a tower defense game and sort of a movement puzzle. You have up to 4 characters around a central campfire. The campfire is your main deck, which has fire on one side and monsters on the other side of each card. Every round, new monsters come out, and then all of your characters have an opportunity to, spend some action points and do stuff, move to where they can block the monsters or go forage for more wood for the fire, actively defend against the monsters, which kind of turns them into firewood. Whatever. It's not important. And then it's the monster's turn, and the monsters will both attack your characters. And if their health is too low, they go to like a separate area to rest and recoup. And the monsters will attack the fire and take cards off of the central fire deck. If you ever run out of cards in the fire deck, you lose. Period. So you're always trying to get cards back in. You put them underneath the deck when you retrieve them from all of these different actions. And every time you go through the deck, you get a little perk. And once you've gone through the deck 4 times, then it's the end of the game. Basically, it's morning. You've kept the fire going through till morning. If you can survive that round, you win the game. So it was a tough play the first 2 or 3 times that I went into it. But now I feel like I'm really getting the hang of it. I'm playing it on the moderate difficulty, neither easy nor super hard.
Oh, that's a new thing for you.
And winning most of the time.
All right.
So,
well, sounds like you need to go to the harder difficulty.
I might. I feel like every time on the moderate difficulty, I'm like just barely pulling it out at the end, which feels about right.
Sure.
So I'm really enjoying it.
Just once you need to get blasted before you review the game.
Well, no, I got blasted a lot on the easiest possible difficulty when I was learning.
I see.
So I've definitely felt both ways of playing. I will try it on the hardest difficulty. I will lose. But I've been enjoying it. It makes for an interesting puzzle, and it's a little bit different than a lot of the other solo button shy games I'm accustomed to playing. So I think it's really interesting. I'll be reviewing it in a couple of weeks.
All right. Next on the list is another game that involves getting absolutely shredded. Busted
Shredded?
or whatever. Yeah, see, I made a pun there. Asher and I, our 15-year-old and myself, sat down and played Unmatched Adventures Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Magic the Gathering is releasing a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles set. And the 15-year-old and actually his uncle, my brother, and another friend are going to a pre-release tournament this weekend just to kind of get some cards and play with it and have fun. And so, we were looking for something to do. And I was like, you know what? We got this game. We should play this game so we can talk about this game. And that was Unmatched Adventures TMNT. So this is a lot like the original Tales to Amaze Unmatched Adventures.
Sure.
So those are the only 2 that exist right now. Box is a little bit bigger. There's 2 primary villains in this box. There's Krang and there's Shredder.
Sure, that makes sense.
This is sucking you immediately back to the 90s. Congratulations. Sure. So, there's also a bunch of sidekicks. Bebop and Rocksteady were in there. The Wombat guy is in there. All the classic sidekicks.
And then most of the turtles get a sidekick.
Yeah, all 4 turtles get a sidekick. So, Leonardo gets Splinter. Donatello gets Metalhead.
Okay.
Raphael gets Casey Jones. And Michelangelo gets April.
I was going to say, somebody's got to have April.
Yeah, or those 2 are switched, but I'm pretty sure it's Raphael and Casey Jones. I also think that as much as like Donatello is the best turtle, you guys, there is no conversation about this. However, I think I'm going to try to play with Raphael next.
Okay.
I mean, first of all, he's purple. Second of all, he's a bow staff. Third of all, he's the smartest one. I mean, it's not, there's no competition here. But Raphael's angry. So I think I'm going to play with the angry guy for a while.
Okay.
And I think Casey Jones is the only ranged sidekick.
That can make a difference.
Which is pretty helpful. Yeah. So the way the game kind of works out, very broad scopes here. So we fought Shredder. And I believe it is you pick Shredder sidekicks, an equal number as the number of players that you have. And that's kind of how they balance it out for more or fewer players.
Sure.
Right. So we had Bebop and Rocksteady and the Wombat Guy were the two other... Like, Bebop and Rocksteady is one character. But with Shredder, there's foot soldiers. And so the way it works is the foot soldiers occupy spaces between the spaces that the characters are on.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So you're on the map of New York, and it's all 5 boroughs. And basically what's happening is the foot soldiers are expanding into the boroughs. And so a lot of Shredder's abilities, or a lot of the impacts that Shredder has, is based on how many boroughs have foot soldier presence in them.
Sure.
And then one of the ways that you lose, like obviously if your guys get killed, that's it. But one of the other ways that you lose is that there's this threat level tracker, and it moves up for all sorts of various reasons. And when it hits the end, another borough falls. And then it kind of gets reset, and then it keeps going. And once 4 boroughs fall, you've lost the game. So with the foot soldiers, all you have to do is move over a foot soldier, like move from one space to another where there's a foot soldier between them, and that foot soldier is removed.
Okay.
Unless the foot soldiers are placed in a borough that has fallen, in which case the tokens are flipped over and they're like flaming foot soldiers, whatever that means. And in those cases, you lose a life when you move over and you don't remove those foot soldiers.
Oh, I see.
So you really don't want boroughs to fall.
Yeah.
It's a bad situation. So for us, I was Donatello, I had Metalhead, Asher played as Leonardo, he had Splinter, which is kind of cool. All of the turtles have different special abilities, like the abilities on their cards, and they're all pretty cool. So Leonardo can move anyone one space at the beginning of his turn.
Nice.
Donatello's special ability is that when he maneuvers, instead of drawing 1 card, you can draw 2, but then you have to take a card and put it on the bottom of your deck.
Sure.
Not one of those 2 necessarily. So if you've got junk in your hand, and it's not like you always take 2 and then you put 1 on the bottom. It's you may choose to take 2. Sure. So if you like what's in your hand, just take 1 and move on. If you don't, you can do something else.
Sure.
The other thing that he has, this is really cool, is there are 4 scheme cards, which are inventions. And when you play them, instead of discarding them, you slide them under your character. And each one of them has a permanent ability that lasts for the rest of the game. So like one is like, whenever you play a scheme card, you get an extra action. Whenever you do an attack, you always get +1. Whenever you defense, you get +1. And then there's one more. I don't remember what it is. So there's a bunch of different things going on with Donatello's character that's really interesting. Metalhead is a big non-factor. Like, he died quick.
Sure. Sure.
So that's the game, right? So the goal here is to defeat Shredder and to defeat, the minions. And that's it. Yeah. It's Unmatched, you guys. So we talked about this a little bit offline before we recorded the show. I don't know how I feel about Unmatched Adventures. And the reason why I say that is because one of the things that I really like about Unmatched in general is that you're pretty much always involved. Like, sometimes if you're playing more than a 2-player game, there are the occasional turn where you're not doing anything, but more often than not, you're doing something on your turn, whether that's getting hit or running away. Like, even if it's a negative thing, you're still doing a thing. With Unmatched Adventures, there were 2 of us playing. So there were our 2 initiative cards, and then there were the 2 initiative cards for the minions, and then there was the initiative card for Shredder, and then there was the initiative card for Shredder's abilities. So there's 6 things happening, and only one of them is something where I get to do something. Maybe if there's an attack happening from one of the minions or whatever, I might be involved there too, but it's way less likely than in a normal game of Unmatched that I'm going to be involved. And so the game, even if the game is progressing fine, it feels like it's moving a lot slower because there are going to be multiple turns where I'm just not involved. And unless you're like, heads down, we're going to power through this, rah, 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 it can slog a little bit. And that's not a feeling that I'm used to with Unmatched. So that was very unfamiliar. I mean, I'm almost tempted to do something like play as the T-Rex in this game because all of the sets are interchangeable. That would be kind of funny, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I want to play it more. Like, I didn't not like it. It's just one of the big things about Unmatched is this super fast tactical gameplay. Yeah. And this didn't really have that. And it
if
felt
you're
weird.
Waiting 3 or 4 turns for your turn, it doesn't have that fast feeling.
Yeah, like, I don't pick up my phone when we play Unmatched, right? Because there's a lot going on, and I'm trying to not pick up my phone. But, like, our 15-year-old's not a slow player, but there were some times when it was kind of excruciating because it's like, I ended up being last in, like, 7 of the 8 rounds that we played, And it's not really about being last. It's about the fact that the entire round, except for my turn, happened. So like if I was third and then I was third and then I was third and then I was third, it would be the same issue where there's this long gap in between my turns as opposed to like being last and then being first or whatever. So I found myself, really, really tempted to pick up my phone way more often than any other time I've ever played Unmatched. And so that's kind of the big negative. But there's so many callbacks. This game is so nostalgic for anybody that grew up in the 80s and 90s and aughts. I mean, that part was really, really great. They did a really good job with the game and the theming and all that stuff. So, thumbs up there.
All right. Cool. I look forward to trying it. I will remind you that if we don't like the adventures part of it, we can just send the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles to fight other people, like Donatello versus Bruce Lee.
Bruce Lee would win that fight. I'm sorry, but he would win that fight.
Or whatever. But yeah. And I think that's about it. You and I did play some Iliad recently.
You won?
I did. I forced you into a corner.
I mean, only barely.
Yeah.
I am still liking Iliad a lot. I really, really enjoy this game. It gets so strategic. Like, the first half of the game moves pretty quickly because you're just kind of filling up this board, and then all of a sudden it just, like, tightens up super, super fast. And we talked about that before.
Yep.
But, we found that to be true again.
Yeah, I'm going to restate that it is a good strategy to try to prevent your opponent from getting one of the 5 god types. It does not always work because you tried to prevent me, but then I turned around and tried to prevent you. Yeah. So then neither one of us had the 5 god types, and then it just came down to points.
Yep.
But yeah.
Anyway, so Iliad, great game. Really enjoying it. All right, Anitra. It's the end of the month. It's actually technically gonna be March when this
when the show comes out.
So
I hope for your sake
monthly report
that you can play a couple of more games before the beginning of March actually happens.
I mean, I hope so because I have 14 plays of 10 unique games in the month of February, which is really bad.
That's rough. I have 22 plays of 12 unique games. For me, that's also really
that's bad.
I didn't even hit 1 play per day.
Yep, that's not good. My H index is 2. It is Trio and Iliad.
My H index is 3 because it is Trio and Slay the Spire.
Sure.
And Embers.
Wait. So you counted each?
I counted each time we sat down to play Slay the Spire. I know. Technically, we played 1 game of Slay the Spire, but it was 3 play sessions. And I did note in my app that each one that was like Act 1 was this play session. Act 2 was this play session.
Questionable, everybody.
I only played Iliad twice, though. So if we don't count Slay the Spire, then my H index would also be 2.
It should be 2, you guys. You know what? Let us know in the comments. I think the answer is going to be you can count it however you want to, and nobody's going to judge you.
I will also say that I started in January actually tracking the difference between games that I'm playing for the first time versus games that I've played before.
Oh, okay.
I only played 2 games that were new to me in February.
Would those games have been Animal Rescue Team?
Nope, because we played that in December. It was Slay the Spire.
Sure, and Embers.
And Fight 5.
Oh, Fight 5.
Embers I tried for the first time in January.
Oh, okay. All right, cool. My play counts were equal at 5 and 2 players. So 6 games at each of those player counts.
I still played more games with you than with anybody else.
71% of my games were played at home. 13 of my 14 plays were played with Anitra.
I have 14 plays with you, so you're missing one.
Sweet! 15 games played, everybody. 15 games played. All right. Let us go to the Family Gamers community on Facebook, shall we?
Yeah, let's do that and welcome our newest
Oh my goodness.
members.
There is a very cute puppy who wants to say hello to you. So
he wants to be part of your board game that you're playing on the couch.
So does Cookie Monster, apparently, in the comments.
Yeah.
Yeah. I will get us started by saying welcome to Pushpa.
Welcome to Kelly.
Welcome to Alisa.
And Will.
Welcome to Sonia.
And Ale.
Welcome to Dima.
And welcome to Sarah.
Thanks so much for joining the community. We hope that you are going to get some really great insights on family gaming and maybe some other random stuff that we're talking about in there. You know, that's where we obviously post our Backtalk questions and anything else. So we really are happy that you're here.
Very happy.
All right. And speaking of Backtalk, we should talk about Backtalk.
Sure. What a transition. So we asked about your special ability, your superpower, your weird talents.
Yeah, so it was the Olympics over the last 2 weeks. And, I mean, those aren't weird talents. Although some of those things... Quick quick pause. What is your favorite Winter Olympic sport?
To watch or conceptually?
I'll take both.
To watch is still going to be figure skating, because figure skaters they look cool doing all their little flips and dances and whatnot.
Okay, sure.
But conceptually, I think it's got to either be skeleton, because those folks are crazy.
They're
Or biathlon.
Okay, so my conceptual is absolutely biathlon for two reasons. Number one, it's the one that has the closest analog to like something that somebody would actually be doing. I mean, like in the Summer Olympics, you have like running and stuff and like whatever.
Yeah,
but
like so in the same way that marathon is based on a legendary historic race. Well, not even race, but like run from one spot to another spot.
Yeah,
right?
like biathlon is like you're in the mountains and you're fighting, and so you have to,
you are
transport yourself and then calm down and shoot something.
Yeah.
I just think that's cool.
Yes. I also think it's cool that it uses two really opposing skill sets.
Yes, absolutely. And they can kind of conflict. Well, cross-country skiing conflicts with the shooting. I don't think the shooting conflicts with the cross-country skiing.
It does, because you have to carry the rifle and all that. Like,
I mean, that's just like a weighted backpack. I'm not too worried about that. But certainly the cross-country skiing impacts the shooting a lot more, I think.
If you see the way those guys fall down to the ground on their skis so they can do the prone shooting, I will say the getting back up again definitely conflicts with effective skiing.
All right. Fair enough. I also I got to pour one out for curling, man. Like, it is so crazy how crazy people get about curling. Do you know what I mean?
I learned a lot about curling in this Winter Olympics, that like all of the curling stones come from this one
island and all that crazy
quarry.
stuff. Yeah. But I just love the curling of it all, right? I just think it's whatever. It's fun. It's interesting.
Such a dad sport.
I think my favorite, yes. Yes, it is. I think my favorite sport to watch, like, I think that figure skating is amazing. Like, it's just like watching, by the way, another opportunity for show feedback here. If somebody can explain to me the difference between like an axle and a Lutz and like whatever the third spinny thing is, I don't even remember. They look the same, and it's like, oh, that was an axle. It's way harder than I'm like, sure, they spun around. Maybe one of them is you start facing forward and the other one's you start facing backwards. Like, I don't even know. I could probably look it up, but I'm lazy. So that's fun to watch. But I think like for me, the one that I would sit down to watch is probably like the ski long jump.
Okay.
Because those people are completely insane. They like hurl themselves hundreds of feet in the air. I would rather be on a skeleton than that. Because at least the ground is right there. Like, I get that I'm going like 60 miles an hour, but the ground is right there. I don't take falling well.
Skeleton has an upper weight limit because the way the tracks are curved, if you had too much momentum, you would go flying off the track at 60 miles an hour.
Fine. I get that. That's fine. I don't take falling well.
Sure.
Okay. I'm not like really afraid of heights, although if I like walk to the edge of a 100-foot cliff, I'm going to get a little bit weird. But like, so I'm not like terrified of heights, especially since like, me, I want to go skydiving. Right?
Yeah.
But like the idea that you would voluntarily launch yourself into the air multiple times,
with nothing but your skis.
Yes, it's nuts. Those people are insane, right? I feel the same way about BMX, right? I mean, it's the same thing. Like when they're going off the crazy jumps with the spins and the whatever. And
that's why I said the snowboarders, because that's what they're doing.
But they're not as high in the air. It doesn't freak me out as much.
No, but if you do it wrong, you're still going to fall on your head.
Yeah, but that's true for almost every sport in the Olympics. Like, look at Lindsey Vonn. I mean, that poor lady's, her leg is in 17 pieces.
Yeah.
But anyway. So your things are biathlon and figure skating with like an honorary mention for skeleton. My things are biathlon and ski jump with an honorary mention for curling.
Yeah.
So that's just a free one if you want to kind of weigh in on that. But let's talk about the actual question. What is your special ability?
So as we talked about last week, mine is, I guess, singing.
Mm-hmm.
I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But Tom on the Facebook first thanks us for the shout out regarding his B-mods.
Yeah. So Tom is Board Games for All Ages.
Yes. But then he says his superpower is balanced out with an Achilles heel. His Achilles heel is that his left nostril is almost non-existent for airflow. But man, that right nostril can breathe.
So Tom, I have to ask, like, do you have a deviated septum? Did you break your nose when you were a kid? Like, there's surgical intervention for this, my guy. Like, we can solve this problem.
But then it might mess up his superpower of being able to breathe twice as well through his right nostril.
I mean, is it twice as well?
I don't know. Maybe.
I don't know. Because if you put 2 taps on a maple tree, you don't get twice as much sap.
Fair enough.
All right. My special skill. Like, realistically, the special skill I have is bowling. So if you want to learn way more than you ever want to know about bowling, just ask me about bowling sometime. But in the Facebook, Mark Spector says that he can clap embarrassingly loud. He's a darn good whistler, and he's better than average at guessing which elevator will come first.
That is a good skill.
It is an important skill. And when you talk about all the skills that we might have, like, people ride in elevators more than they go bowling. So it's a good skill. That's all I have to say.
On to the Discord. Stefan lays claim to the skill of being able to speak teenager.
That is quite the skill. We found something on like Threads or something, and you put me up to texting it to our son.
Your room is giving negative aura. No cap. It needs to glow up or I'll yeet your stuff myself.
I'm a little afraid that you remember that.
I'm reading it off of where I put it on the Discord.
Oh, there you go. All right. Okay, fair.
That did not go over well with our teenagers. One was just kind of horrified, and the other one was like, "Are you okay, Mom?"
All right. Peter Schott says he does pretty well with music, and a lot of it sticks pretty quickly, so he can memorize it pretty well. He doesn't think it's superhuman levels, but above average. He also tends to be really self-confident in thinking that he can do just about anything if he gets down to it.
Yeah, that is sometimes a superpower.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you surprise yourself and you get it done and it works, right? This is the whole perfect is the enemy of good thing.
But Peter also joined me in the company of talented amateur musicians who could never make it as a professional. And that's fine. We appreciate you, Peter. Sarah Jane says, hearing very quiet sounds, like someone's cell phone vibrating in their pocket, or a ding from the next room, and also finding tiny screws and Legos that fall on the floor. She says this is actually even more impressive than it sounds, because she's absurdly nearsighted and can't follow a conversation in a loud room.
I have to ask, though, do you find the screws and Legos by stepping on them?
I mean, the way she put it, I think she just finds them.
I mean, I know, but, you know, Legos and stepping on them, it's
yeah.
She also says that her work superpower is giving difficult feedback in a positive way that sets future expectations without judging the past.
That's a really important work superpower.
Mm-hmm.
Good job, Sarah. Then we have Adrian, who says, in opposition to Peter, she can't memorize music to save her life, but she's very good at sight reading piano music. And then she also adds, at work, I seem to be able to debug software programs better than a lot of people. Also an important skill. Keep at it, Adrian.
The Joyful Jedi says, I don't have any superpowers that would be something people would want to watch. I very much enjoy doing research. I'm pretty thorough. It's a skill not everyone likes to learn. It's not a talent so much as my learned operating system.
Our teenager responds as well, saying, math. I'm good at math. Pretty decent at music as well, but not like I am at math. He goes on to say, I don't love math, I'm just good at it. But because I'm good at it, I do more and more, so I can be better. But I still don't love it. That's okay.
Well, we love that you're doing more and more of it, because hopefully it will get you into college.
And I like that you recognize that about yourself.
Yeah, it's healthy. It's healthy.
Yeah.
So then Rob says, fourth grade teacher here, my educator superpower is to create a safe space where kids can make mistakes and build perseverance. That's like what we preach on this show all the time.
All the time.
We grow when we fail. Kids need to feel that. Yes. Secondly, I'm tall. I can reach things off the top shelf for people, helpful both in and outside of a school.
Can I tell you the number of times that little old ladies have stopped me at the supermarket?
Are you for real?
And said, like, excuse me, could you get that thing off the top shelf?
So cute. It's because you're not threatening. Nobody stops me for anything. It has nothing to do with my height.
I think it also has a lot to do with the time of day that I am normally shopping.
Maybe.
I am probably the tallest shopper there.
Maybe. Jeremy says, I have two superpowers. The first is that I can annoy my wife without even trying.
Don't most husbands have that superpower?
I mean, I do try to annoy you. Anyway, the second, I can fix just about anything without knowing too much about it. The caveat is it might not stay working, but I can almost always MacGyver a solution.
Maybe that's why his wife is usually annoyed with him. All right, that is it for our back talk for this time. Thank you all very much. This was a very fun discussion.
It was super fun.
There is a lot more side conversations on the Discord, so I would highly recommend that you join if you want to laugh at some silly gifs and other side commentary.
Mm-hmm. Membership has its benefits. All right, but we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we are going to talk about the Purge and how to know when you're done with a game.
We'll be right back. And we're back.
Hello.
So, yeah, purging board games. We've talked about this before, but it's been a long time since we had an episode devoted to purging board games.
Sure. Yep.
So we thought we'd do that this time around, but with a slightly different emphasis than usual, because we were talking a lot last week about little kids and growing up and moving on. How do you know when you're done with little kid games?
Well, look, I think the opening salvo, I'm not going to bury the lead on this one, but the answer is different for everybody. You know, I think it's important to recognize that there is no formula that you can take from this podcast and turn around and apply it to your life and come up with a solution that is exactly what you want it to be. It's going to take some introspection and some consideration. And really, it depends on where you are in your life and what's going on with your family and friends. Perfect example. If you have a brother or sister who's maybe 5 years younger than you and who is continuing in roughly the same life beats that you are. And so your now 8-year-old has grown out of the games that they were playing when they were 3, 4, and 5, but your nieces and nephews are coming up behind. That might be a time when you say, okay, time to move all this stuff over to them. Or if you have really attached children who have a lot of nostalgia for their things and have shown this over time, it might just be, these are things that we're going to put, in storage so that we can bring them back out or give them to these kids when they leave the home and they have the nostalgia around that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm just like throwing stuff out here.
Yeah.
There are lots of different kinds of scenarios, and it would really be unfair for us to just say, this is what you need to do.
Yeah. As with most parents, if you don't hang on to absolutely everything forever, you will at some point get rid of something and then regret it.
Yeah, wow, you want to go right to the regrets, huh? You want to start there?
I mean, yeah, because I think it helps to start with here's how it can go wrong of purging. And even that is recoverable in some ways.
Well, sure. I mean, it's recoverable because we're talking about board games. I understand that moving on from something and then regretting doing it is a terrible feeling.
Yes.
I totally get it. At the same time, it is cardboard and plastic and wood.
Yeah.
It's gonna be okay. Do you want to talk about your regret?
Sure. We are constantly moving through games in our family because we're board game reviewers. There's only so much space, and we don't want to have 500 games in our house. So we're constantly reevaluating. And a game that we moved on from because it's a little kid game, our kids weren't playing it anymore, was Zitternix, also known as Keep It Steady. This is a HABA yellow box board game that is now out of print. And that is the reason why I really, really regretted moving on from it. In addition to, the more obvious, I really liked playing it. I really liked playing it even with adults. I don't remember some super early episode of the Family Gamers podcast. We talked about playing it literally with a group of just adults as a quick little 5-minute diversion. And we had a blast with it. So I'm not entirely sure why we decided to move on from it, except that it was very little kiddish. And it wasn't getting a lot of play in the family. But about a year, maybe 2 years after we did, I was like, man, I would love to have that, to still be able to pull it out for that 5-minute, diversion, or when we do have little kids over at our house, because it's such an easy game for little kids to understand. And it has a different skill differential than we're used to in games that little kids can play. So my darling husband hunted down a copy and replaced the game for me. And let's be honest, this was for me. This was not for our kids. This was not a game they had any serious attachment to, but it was for me.
You mentioned something, and I kind of alluded to it, which was the whole, if you've got members of your family that are a couple of years behind you, you can transition games off thing. It also is if you are in a situation where kids are coming to you that maybe are not your kids.
Yeah.
We have a box of toys for toddlers. We don't have any toddlers, but it is a box that we can pull out because we are adults and have adult friends who are having kids later in life, or they're younger than us or whatever. And we want to be able to spend time with those people and not use the television as a giant pacifier.
Yeah.
And board games are another opportunity to do that kind of thing.
Well, and we want to welcome our adult friends and their kids the way that people welcomed us and our little kids when our kids were young. That kids are people too.
Yeah. So
reductive, but true.
Yeah. So I don't think we're going to talk about purging specifically. If you are curious, you can refer to episodes 136 and 243. Those are 2 episodes we did that were really primarily about purging and what the process is like, and my process for purging and things like that. So we're not really going to talk about that, but we do want to touch on a couple of different ways that you can evaluate whether or not it's time to move on from games because your family situation has changed.
Yes. So this is not just about aging out.
Mm-hmm.
It's also about like, hey, I thought we were going to play lots of big Euro games as a family that are best at 4 and 5 players. And it turns out there is only one other person in the family who likes those kind of games. So those really big, expansive ones are not the right ones for our situation.
Well, look, I mean, it could be anything. It might not even be the just one person in the family likes it. It could be something as simple as your 15-year-old turned 16 and got a job, and they don't have time anymore.
Yeah.
In the same way that they used to do these kinds of things. So I think at its core, the thing that you're evaluating is the utility of a game in your family.
Yes.
So that can take lots of different forms. It can be the game that you save for when younger kids come over. It can be the game that you save when everybody agrees to sync up vacations and actually play the game.
Yeah.
Or not, right?
Or not.
Those are the things. And when we talked last time about how our kids' priorities change over time, this is a perfect example of that. It doesn't necessarily mean that a kid is aging out of a game, like you said. It could simply be that their priorities have changed. So their like or dislike for a game might not have changed.
Right.
But children, we are only given our kids for 18 years or so. And there's huge formative changes in that amount of time. And their priorities change, their interests change, the people that they want to spend time with changes.
Mm-hmm.
All sorts of things happen. And one of the hardest things, by the way, in the whole growing up of your children bit of it all, is when you recognize that the control that you have over your children is waning because there are other influences in their lives, right?
Yeah. Well, and also sort of the grief over you may really like who your teenage children are, but they're not the same people they were at age 8 or age 6.
Yep.
They're not. Those little kids are gone.
Yep. I don't remember who said this. I think it was on the show Transparent. It was Jeffrey, whatever his name's character is. But he said that like being a parent is constantly falling in love with your child who is then gone, and then there's another version of them, and then you fall in love with them again.
It's like the grief and the joy all wrapped together.
Yeah, because they're a different person, and then who knows what the amount of time is. It could be a day, it could be 6 months, and they're a different person again.
Yeah.
And you fall in love with that new person every single time, and then you have the grief of them being gone. And this is way heavier than this episode was ever intended to be. But, when we talk about this purge thing, it's really all around the utility of the box of cardboard.
Yeah. I was also going to mention the nostalgia factor. As your kids,
that's part of it, right?
As your kids get older, they may have that nostalgia factor as well. The nostalgia alone is not necessarily a reason to keep a game.
Yeah.
And I saw this a couple of years ago. We were at PAX Unplugged and went to the classic cardboard room. I was super excited because I found in that room a game that I had played in my childhood at my grandparents' house. I could never remember the name of it, but simply finding it was enough for me. I didn't need to sit down and play it. Similarly, the teenager who was with me found Don't Break the Ice, which we don't have anymore, not because we intentionally wanted to get rid of it, but because it broke.
Yeah.
And we didn't replace it.
Imagine that, a game that's designed to, have parts that hit other parts broke.
And everything is made of thin plastic.
Yeah. Weird.
Yeah. But I sat down with the teenager. We played a game of Don't Break the Ice. It was fun. And then we're like, okay, we're done with that. Like, done and dusted. We can move on. We don't need to go buy another copy of Don't Break the Ice to keep in our house.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of those things that was just, oh, hey, this is fun. Brings back the nostalgia of when you were little and we used to do this. Great. On the other hand, as we mentioned, you can have nostalgia for a game that is so tied up in memories that it does make you want to pull it out and play it over and over again. Maybe when you have a big family gathering, or a holiday, maybe when you've got some one-on-one time with that kid.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's really a self-examination, I think, of this game may be great and I may enjoy playing it with my kid, but is it something that we really want around? Is it something we really want to play again? Or is it more of a, hey, if we had the opportunity, that'd be fun?
Yeah, look, I think, the responsible thing to do around that, and this is something that we have to reckon with, you mentioned this before, because we've constantly got stuff coming into the collection and leaving the collection, is to identify those areas in which you want to keep things and why you want to keep them. And then find some dimensionally constrained method for keeping those things. And what I mean by that is you have a tote for nostalgic games. And that's it.
Sure.
And that's all you get, right? You have a box for games for little kids when little kids come over. And that's it. That's all you get. You don't keep more. You don't keep less. It helps you kind of self-filter the things that you want to keep. That's what we did with toys for kids, for little kids. We have a box. And that's it. That's all there is. And if something breaks, it goes in the trash. If you have a game and you bring it out for some little kids and they rip it up or whatever, or damage it, whatever, fine, it goes in the trash. Something else might make its way into that box. It's fine. But the key there is really around the utility of that game or those games and how they fit into this constrained area. Because ultimately, when you're talking about purging, you're doing it for a reason, right?
Yes.
You're not just saying, well, I have infinite space, but I'm going to purge for fun.
Yeah.
Or whatever it might be. So the key, I think, there is really to say, when our family is moving past something, what are the reasons why we might want to keep it around? And if I can't come up with any, it's gone. And those reasons, how do I fit those reasons into a constrained thing, whether that's area or we have 4 games and they all pretty much have the same nostalgia factor for the same kids. Like, do we really need to keep them all?
Do we really need all of them? Yeah.
1 or 2 or whatever it might be. So just really, really trying to constrain those and put limitations on your decisions.
Yeah. And I'll say we bring our kids into this too.
Oh, of course.
In multiple ways. There's a family game collection, and when we're looking to pare it down a little bit, we will run stuff by them. But also, again, because of the nature of our family, and we're very much a gamer family, we have a Kallax style shelf where each of our kids has 1 or 2 cubes that are their quote unquote games.
Mm-hmm.
Each kid has treated that a little bit differently with what they think is important enough to keep in there. But the point is that the games that are in their cube are ones that nobody else can say, okay, we're done with this, get rid of it.
Right.
It's like a permanent veto. It's how it works in practice.
Mm-hmm. But they're giving up some of their own space for it.
Right, exactly. Some of it is very personal connections. Our daughter keeps the very first board game that she bought with her own money. I don't think she's actually interested in playing this game anymore, but the nostalgia factor is so high that she cannot bear to get rid of it. And that's okay.
Mm-hmm. Once in a while, she'll take it out and look at it. And then put it back together, back in the box.
Yeah.
Mall Madness Littlest Pet Shop Edition.
Yeah.
My goodness.
There's a sale on...
Yeah, that's what it is. Dog food or something. I don't know.
Or something,
anyway.
Yeah. But yeah, so going through all this to encourage you to examine your reasons to want to get rid of something. I highly encourage that you have games that make noise and your children aren't going to miss them. Just go ahead and get rid of them.
Well, that is because you are attributing negative utility to noise. That's what you are doing. That is your decision, Anitra.
It's because we were just talking about the Mall Madness game, which even now makes me twitch a little bit. But in all seriousness, it is both okay to get rid of games and okay to keep a game even if it's not being played. Just be honest with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Is this ever going to get played again? Or is it one of those like, if we have just the right combination of these 3 people are here and everyone has free time and it's a snow day and, you know, all of these, then we might actually play this game. That one's probably not worth keeping. Just saying.
Right. There's another opportunity for us to bring up things like the B mods, right? So some of these more simple games, they might have the ability to play at different skill levels. And again, when you're looking at potentially having kids come into the house and things like that, that's going to increase the utility of those games.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's another thing to think about is the way in which you can incorporate other kids as you play some of this stuff.
Yeah, I will always speak highly of games like King Domino or even Azul, which are quote unquote adult games, but scale down really young, 4 or 5 years old, really. So don't feel like you absolutely need to have kids' games in your house if you're going to regularly have young kids, but consider what the balance there is. The more adulty a game is, the more help a little kid is going to need in playing it.
So let's pivot this question a little bit in another direction, which is the actual analysis of it all. So how do you know that it's time to get rid of a game?
You're out of space.
Okay. I mean, do you recommend like, okay, every 6 months you should kind of do a review, every year, like at the end of the school year or the beginning of the next school year? Like, what are you thinking in terms of that? What would you recommend for our listeners?
I think it should be a regular occurrence. You decide what works best for you. Should you do it right in advance of Christmas, when you know new things are going to be coming in the house, and some of them are probably going to be games? School year, more than twice a year is probably excessive, unless you're rotating stuff out on a really regular basis like we are. But I would say if you do this once a year, every year, the process will get easier, because you'll be like, oh, hey, didn't we talk about this game last year and everybody wanted to keep it, but we haven't played it in the past year. Do you guys all still feel like this is a game you really want to hang on to? Okay, well, since we haven't played it in over a year, let's talk about why we want to keep it and decide, is it worth the space that it's going to take up?
Right. You know, you said more than twice a year is probably too much. I do think there's something to be said for letting the problem grow to the point where it becomes an insurmountable task, or a seemingly insurmountable task. And that's something that we want to avoid as well.
Yeah.
Yep. To your point, there's lots of strategies that people will use to help them identify games, right? Say there's a game that nobody wants to get rid of, but it hasn't been played in a while. Take a Post-it note and stick it on that game. And then when you play it, pull the Post-it note off. And so when you come back around the next time, if there's still Post-it notes on games, those are the games that you take a harder look at.
I think that's a good solution.
Yeah, I just think the more voices that you have in the conversation, the more concrete you have to be with your decision making.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I also think you're right. You don't want to let the pile of stuff get so big that it feels awful. So if you are already at that stage, just go through a little bit at a time. Don't try to cut your game collection in half or get rid of 3/4 all at once.
Some people can do that.
Some people can,
but
usually because
if it is an insurmountable feeling task, then that's something to do.
Yeah. We have that sort of set up naturally. The way games work in our house, they're in 3 different places. And so we can be like, we're going to specifically talk about this one place today. Mm-hmm. That helps with our personal system. But I think the big thing is, as you mentioned, having a limited space. It can be a large space, but it's still limited, and say, we're not going to let it get any bigger than this. Mm-hmm. If that also feels like too much, then you can do the 1 in, 1 out policy. Or if you need to cut down, maybe I will get rid of 2 games every time I bring a new game in. Mm. And that'll help you both think a lot harder about bringing new games in and make you think more about purging.
Yeah, there's another thing that's really important to kind of think about when you are working through kids' games, which is that board games in general are okay at retaining value. Kids' games are not.
Kids' games are not.
So, you know, one of the big things when I've talked to people about purging is there's a lot of perceived value in the games that they have, like in terms of dollars. So the typical process would be one where you are working through the most advantageous for you from a dollar perspective. Can I resell these games directly to people? Can I bring them to a flea market or something like that?
Yeah.
And then move to, all right, can I trade these in at a board game store and then move to something else? You really can't do any of that stuff for the most part with kids games.
With a lot of kids games. There are some.
Occasionally there's a hobby game that somebody will take in. But generally speaking, the expectation that you should work with when you're coming at kids games is that you are going to give them away.
Yeah.
Just make your peace with that before you even start. And it's going to make the process a lot easier. A lot of schools will take games.
Yes. In the past, people have recommended libraries. Our local library does not take games. But our local public schools 100% will. They need something to fill time when they have indoor recess.
Now, I would say if there's a game, this is true for other stuff too, but we're talking about board games here. If there is a game that you really love and you want it to go somewhere where it's going to be loved, find a friend to give it to.
Yeah, don't give that one to a school.
Games that you give to a school are going to get destroyed. It's not malicious. It's just real life.
It is the way of the world.
Yes. So the more, I'm going to say disposable games, your cooties, your Don't Break the Ices, your Sorries, things like that, your mainstream stuff that you bought at a Target, you know, Massachusettsopoly, whatever it might be. Those games, totally fine to give to schools. They are, what they are. Other games are also fine to give to schools, but just be mindful of what's going to happen to them. And that's okay. It's just a game.
Yeah.
But if it is a game that you have an attachment to and you're saying, for my own personal health, we need to move on from this game, then find a friend to give that to.
Yeah.
There's also other opportunities for donations. If you have a board game cafe near you, a lot of board game cafes typically will stock up on games for adults and might not have that many kids games, but kids still want to play games too. So you can always reach out to a board game cafe and see if they're interested in taking in, some kids games.
Yeah. I think that's pretty good. I think acknowledging that moving on from games, especially when we're talking about games that your kids have played and games that your kids maybe did love in the past but don't anymore, is really, really emotional.
Yes.
It's not like a lot of other things in our life where we're like, oh, I used that and now I'm done with it and that's fine, somebody else can have it. There's all kinds of memories bound up in playing games with your kids. And that's a good thing. But sometimes it's hard to recognize that you'll still have the memories, even if you don't have the game anymore.
Yep. Yeah, this is true for everything in our lives. And there's really nothing special about board games in this way other than the fact that they're mutually interactive things.
Yeah, they're always going to be something that you're experiencing with someone else. Yeah.
Right. All right. So, Anitra, you talked about your Purge regret. I am going to ask that question to our community. If you have purged games, do you have a game that you've purged that you regret purging?
And did you
or
find it again later?
Or are just sad about purging? For example, mine, I don't regret purging Tzolk'in, but I am sad about purging Tzolk'in.
That's fair.
That's a game that just was not going to get played in our family, and I came to terms with that reality, and so I moved on from it. So I am sad that we no longer have Tzolk'in. I don't really regret it because I think it was the right thing to do.
Okay.
So you said that yours was Zitternix. We turned around and we bought a copy of Zitternix again.
Yes.
So we have that. We were able to rectify that regret. But what about you out there? Is there a game that you purged that maybe it was like a cathartic thing? You knew you had to do it and you still think it was the right decision, but it makes you sad? That's me and Tzolk'in. Or is there a game that you have purged that you're like, man, why did I do that? I wish I did not. Or even, I know why I did it at the time, but I sure wish I didn't make that decision. That would be okay too.
Yeah.
So that's our Backtalk question this week.
You will be able to give us that Backtalk on the family tabletop community on Discord. We have a whole channel devoted to Backtalk. Or you can do it in our Facebook community where we welcomed everyone earlier. There will be a question posted there. Or you can just send us a message on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram or TikTok or Blue Sky or Threads or YouTube, all the places at Family Gamers AA.
You can even email us, Andrew at thefamilygamers.com.
Anitra at thefamilygamers.com.
Please don't forget, by the way, to subscribe to the Family Gamers podcast, to tell your friends about the show, and leave us a review at Apple Podcast or whatever your podcast subscription source is. You can also find us on Amazon Music, on TuneIn, on Spotify, and YouTube Music.
I want to thank You Bred Raptors for providing music for the Family Gamers podcast for most of 10 years now.
Pretty much. The Family Gamers is sponsored by First Move Financial. Go to firstmovefinancial.com/familygamers to learn how the team at First Move Financial can help you pile up the victory points.
Well, I think that's going to be it for us this week.
Okie dokie.
We don't have any games we need to purge at the moment, right?
No, I don't think so. Think so. But we do have some games that we should play.
Always.
Oh.
Always.
All right, so we're going to play some games. We'll catch up with you in a couple of weeks. So until then, everybody, play games with your kids.